Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm Vince Mickens, and I am live again on location, just like I was last week at Oshkosh Air Venture, which was quite the spectacle. We had quite a show out there last week. This time I am at the Allegheny County Airport at the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics. I'm sitting in Hangar 4, I believe somebody told me. And as you can see, there are a couple of aircraft that are part of the maintenance program behind me. One of my favorite, the King Air. My other favorite, the Bell. So, of course, I look at every aircraft and say they're all my favorite. So I guess that's not helping me much. But anyhow, this is going to be a great show. This is going to be about women in the aircraft maintenance industry, what Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics is doing with that, and what the opportunities are. And we're going to hear from, this is the coolest part, we're going to hear from 4 students. One from each of the 4 campuses that's going to talk about what they're currently doing, what their aspirations are, what life is like in the maintenance field and aircraft maintenance field, and we'll find out a little bit more also about all the programs and everything that PIA, as everybody calls it, but the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics offers. So let me start out by introducing everybody that you're seeing on the screen. And we'll find out a little bit more about their backgrounds in a little bit. I'm going to start with Margaret. Oh gosh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to double check the pronunciation of your last names. Oh well,
that's okay.
I'm so famous for that. But anyhow, Margaret Skalican?
Skalican, that's correct.
Oh, okay, I got it right on the first try. Better known as Peg. I'm sorry?
I said, please call me Peg.
Okay, better known as Peg, who I called Meg earlier because I was probably thinking of that movie Meg. But anyhow, Peg is in Myrtle Beach. She's at the Myrtle Beach campus for the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics. Peg, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you. And then I'm going to try this one and get it right. Mindy Pavilonis.
Perfect.
Got it. Again, I forgot to check with you, but Mindy is the Associate Director of Career Services for PIA. And Mindy, you're at which campus? I forgot.
I'm actually located at the Myrtle Beach campus. Is where my office is. Yes.
Okay, great. So you're at Myrtle Beach. What are you guys doing down there in Myrtle Beach? And then let me introduce the students. We have Lillian Thompson. And all of these students are aviation maintenance program students. Lillian is at the Pittsburgh campus here where I am. She's in another part of the campus. We have Elizabeth Household at the Youngstown, Ohio campus. Leticia De Lima. Did I say that right?
Got it.
I got it?
You did.
But she wants us to call her Letty, so we'll go with Letty, and I won't try the last name anymore. And she's at the Myrtle Beach campus. Oh, so 3 people at the Myrtle Beach campus. Must be an appeal thing there called Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
And then we have Courtney Thompson at the Hagerstown, Maryland campus. Courtney, welcome.
Thank you.
So again, it's really great to have you on, and I really look forward to talking about it. Statistically, we know that there's a lot of room for growth in terms of women getting into aviation maintenance. It's still a very small percentage. The good news is that there are thousands of jobs that are waiting for aviation maintenance technicians. And as a matter of fact, the latest numbers are, I'm going to say, you know, it's specifically, I think it's 189,000 over the next 20 years or 19 years. Let's just say 10,000 a year is the number of jobs that are available in this industry, which I think is phenomenal. You know, we talk about on this show about all aspects of aviation and aerospace, but specific to the maintenance side, that's what we're going to talk about today and talk about what you guys have been doing at PIA. I always like to kind of start off talking a little bit about and finding out a little bit more about folks' backgrounds. But before I do that, let me go to Peg. And Peg, if you could tell us a little bit about what you do specifically directing that campus and a little bit about PIA overall.
Sure. So as campus director, it is basically running the facility. We have the 4 campuses, main campus and 3 branch campuses. PIA has been around since 1929, so we're over 90 years old, providing aviation maintenance training, and at one point we did other aviation professional training as well. We started branch campuses in 2004, 2005 with the Youngstown campus, and have been providing professionals since that time. Hagerstown was next, and Myrtle Beach after that. One of the interesting facts is the school is a nonprofit school. So our goal and our mission is training aviation maintenance technicians and providing quality technicians to the industry. I started at the main campus 22 years ago.
I was going to say, you've got quite a history with PIA.
I do. I started back in 2000 as the assistant to the president, worked up to director of finance and human resources. And that's about the time we were opening branch campuses. And it was suggested or presented, have you ever thought about running a campus? And at the time I thought, that's not me. But truthfully, I've enjoyed it because I have learned even more about the industry. And I think my favorite part is in this position, I get to know the students more. And that's been one of the highlights of the last 10 years.
So aviation has a way of hooking you in, no matter who you are, whether you had an interest in it before or not. Were you involved in aviation at all? Was it on your radar before joining PIA?
It was not. I worked for entrepreneur and engineering firms prior to that. I had seen the posting, and quite honestly, growing up in the Pittsburgh area, I had driven past the school many a times and didn't know what went on in there. I kid sometimes, on my way to go shopping as a teenager, I'd drive by it every weekend. So it wasn't on my radar. I knew a little bit about aviation, and I was fortunate when I started at PIA to work directly for Mr. Jack Graham, who was president and CEO at that time. And he was very kind in every week giving me his aviation lesson, whether he took me over to the terminal building or out on the tarmac and showed me cool aircraft or telling me stories. So I got hooked pretty quick. And yes, once you catch the aviation bug, you're in. You're in.
And all of us longtime aviators, we're going to tell plenty of stories too. Mindy, how about you? Your background's a little different. You actually did come from an aviation maintenance background, I believe, and then transitioned to PIA.
Yes. I worked for an aircraft maintenance repair station. I was in charge of human resources and actually recruiting aircraft mechanics. So my little funny PIA story is I knew Peg from when she was at the main campus, along with Suzanne Markle, our current president and CEO. I used to go to the main campus and hire their students. The company that I worked for, the original senior leadership team that came to Myrtle Beach to open up the aircraft repair station, there were 9 of them. 7 of them were PIA graduates from the 90s. They were from that area and they moved down here to open up a repair station. And I had a friend of a friend who said they need some help. They need someone to help get them organized, paperwork, etc. And once again, just like Peg said, I caught the aviation bug. And interestingly enough, I'm a military brat. My dad worked on aircraft for 20 years in the Air Force. My brother works on helicopters.
Oh, so it's deep in your blood.
Yeah.
It's very much in your blood.
It is.
You're pretty much born with it.
I was, yes. Always grew up with, around airplanes, going to air shows, getting to sit on an SR-71 at Beale Air Force Base, California when I was 7 years old. So I have been around it my whole life. So this has been wonderful, a wonderful career. And then Peg gave me a call 6 years ago this month and said, we have an opportunity here at this campus and would you like to talk with us about it? And here I am.
Yeah, let me dig right in here, jump right in, because workforce is something that's been on the front burner for a while in aviation. Prior to the pandemic, it was being discussed quite a bit in terms of workforce concerns of being able to fill the pipeline with new pilots, new mechanics, new avionics techs, et cetera, et cetera. And now that reality is now that COVID is, I don't know, somewhere beyond getting past it. It's full frontal again. I mean, I'm speaking to the choir here, but that's something that is a real big challenge. But the question I was going to ask you is, how much of a difference is it now compared to when you were looking for mechanics you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
It's the same. We had 60% of my time at my previous job was looking for mechanics. It was a constant uphill battle. I hired over 500 mechanics in a 13-year period.
Wow.
And it was very difficult to hire experienced and even entry level because of the competition, right? I was a small privately owned aircraft repair station. And so when I would have to fight for those students at the main campus because, they had want to go to an airline, right, and get flight benefits. The pay was maybe $2 or $3 more an hour than what I could afford them. But the one thing I did have was the location of Myrtle Beach. That's how I was able to get those Pittsburgh entry-level graduates to come down. So I can say from 2004 to now, it's still an uphill battle for employers to find mechanics.
Yeah, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
It's tough for the employers, but it's kind of good for your students because they pretty much have a job before they even get close to graduation.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of students, let me go to you guys and get that party started. And I'm going to start with you, Courtney, because I'm impressed. So I was reading your background. You're raising 2 kids, and at the same time you're going to school for aviation maintenance. And tell us how all of this came about. How did you get to PIA? How did you get into aviation maintenance? Because if I recall, you do have a background as an auto mechanic and in the auto industry.
Yes, I do.
I do remember correctly. Okay. So tell us about that. Tell us how that all happened and then how that transitioned to aviation maintenance.
Sure. Well, I do have 2 kids. One is 8, my daughter, and then I have a son who's 5. So they're, very eager to learn. And every time I get home from school, it's, what'd you learn today? And we have all these discussions, and it's great. We actually lived in Salisbury, Maryland for a couple years. I actually have been a resident of Hagerstown for 20 years. And then I wanted something new. So I always had a passion for cars, and I was always doing things to my cars, fixing my brother's cars, and I found a job as like an entry-level automotive technician in Salisbury. So I went there and really enjoyed it, but with COVID, they had a lot of layoffs that went on, and that was a very big hurdle. Is I know a lot of industries with the pandemic was, people were furloughed, laid off, and you kind of go, well, what's next?
And it was a challenge in aviation as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I kind of started digging into, what do I like? I enjoy turning wrenches. I like fixing things, putting things together. So I just was sitting on my steps, and every time an airplane or helicopter goes by, I always look up at the sky, and I'm like, I think I'm going to take a career change. I think I'm going to go for aviation maintenance now. And I knew it was going to be challenging, and I was ready to go ahead and take that leap. So
yeah, and I think one of the reasons your story resonates not only with me but with everybody is there are a lot of young people that, for example, are in high school and they're not necessarily going the college track, but they have talent. They have skills in whether it's a technical skill and it's for example with automobiles or electronics or things like that, and they wonder what they can do with it. Which brings me to, exactly what you've done. You discovered aviation maintenance, and I'd like to point out, and we can discuss that, both Peg and Mindy, about what PIA, I keep wanting to say the full name, what PIA does and offers in terms of the mechanical side as well as the electronic side, et cetera, and that opportunity. So you are now, coming back to you, you're now into aviation, in the aviation maintenance program. And what do you want to do with that? What do you, now that you're in it and you've learned more about it, what's your goal with it?
Oh goodness. I mean, at this point, I've always wanted to keep going with a job. I want to learn so many different things. I mean,
I want to grow with it.
I do. And I find that a lot of jobs, you kind of just hit a wall. And with the aviation industry, I mean, there's endless opportunities. And I think just being able to have a background in different areas, like I do enjoy the electronics. I enjoy, you know, when we overhaul the engines, but there's so many more things to it, like the painting of the aircraft, helping with line maintenance. So I really want to have a broad background in all areas. So, you know,
And it sounds like you're getting that here at PIA.
definitely.
Yeah, getting the basics of what you need to learn to then go out there. And thank you for saying that about aviation and aerospace for that matter. It's both, the entire industry is growing exponentially and has really unlimited possibilities, as you pointed out. So if you're looking for growth, you're definitely in the right industry. Yes, I am biased. I am not even going to, you know, say I'm not, but you're definitely in the right industry. And I think, so I'll stay with you for a second, Courtney. Do you find do you feel like you find any bias or, you know, in terms of the fact that you are a woman in what's traditionally been a man's field? Not trying to put you on the spot, just want an honest answer about it.
No, absolutely. I don't feel any bias towards it here. I mean, this industry is looking for women because we're very intricate with things. We can remember a lot of fine details. We have, you know, sometimes smaller hands and can fit in little nooks and crannies and do things that, you know, before was, oh, this is, you know, not a woman's job. But if you have a passion for it, I mean, when I came and was interested, I was welcomed with open arms. And it really makes you feel comfortable knowing the amount of opportunities that the campus also has that says, hey, there's this opportunity for you, and, you know, talk to this person and let me show you, you know, resources and outsourcing of like what opportunities you could possibly have as being a woman in this industry.
Vince,
Yeah.
if I could interject.
Sure.
You talk about the technical skills in high school. We have always fought and still continue to fight the four-year degree college path versus a technical path. Many people don't realize the quality of jobs that are out there or the quantity of them. And then you add to it, it is also an industry where you're right, the percentage of women is very low. So there's many messages there to get across that really anyone can do this and the opportunities are endless. And I think this is a great forum for people to realize there are a lot of women in a lot of different areas besides these young ladies going into maintenance. Mindy had a background in recruiting. We're in education now. So yeah, getting the message across that this really is for anybody that likes to work with their hands and think airplanes are cool. And there's a lot of technical aspects to it as well. And you can see by the hangar background behind you, it's not a dirty industry.
No, actually it isn't. And it's even becoming more high tech as the industry grows, because the technology now requires some knowledge, some computer knowledge, et cetera, and so forth, which I think is great. You still turn wrenches, but it's a combination of things. And I think that's a great point. I've heard you guys talk about that offline when we just had a prep conversation for this, that it isn't quote unquote a dirty industry. It's actually a high tech industry, and it's becoming more high tech. And I saw that one of your graduates ended up first going and doing maintenance, I think, in the airline industry, and then work their way into the space industry, aerospace, which is really, you know, pretty amazing. You know, you start out and you're an AMP, and then before you know it, you're working on rockets that are going to orbit or the moon or whatever the case may be. So I think that's really, I'm glad you brought that up, Peg, because about the stigma, if you will, in high school that I think is unfair. Now, I have 3 daughters. I've heard it from them, and I've witnessed it for myself about the typical, you know, the path is college, it's a 4-year college, et cetera, and so forth. But, you know, it's not everybody's path. And actually, there's plenty of room for everybody. So, you know, if a young lady is more like the 4 of you that are on this program, if you're more into and comfortable with the mechanical side of things, more power to you. You probably a better mechanic than some of us guys. But anyhow, I'll leave that one alone. Probably just got in trouble with somebody somewhere. Peg, I was going to ask you, so let me expand on that a little bit. How are you addressing that, for example, for your campus? You're the campus director. Yes, you have a little bit of appeal factor with the beach, Myrtle Beach, and all that good stuff. But seriously, how are you addressing that on behalf of PIA and specific to your campus?
Well, there's two things there. When you talk about the four-year education, you know, I go out and speak a lot, as do our admissions reps, but I think it's about helping parents and teachers change the conversation. You know, if you think of the family at a graduation party, everybody's coming up and saying, so where are you going to college? And that's not the right question. We should be asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what do you think you want to do? And what are some of your path options? So I think it's changing the conversation for the people that influence these young adults in their decision. If they know they're going to be asked the question, where you're going to college, then they assume that's what they should be doing. So that's part of it. And addressing the females in aviation, we try getting involved with AWAM. There's a lot of Girl Scout organizations, Zonta, that our admissions reps participate in and try to bring more females. There's a county close to us that has Sisters in STEM, and work with them on different projects. So we are trying to seek out these organizations or groups of students in high school that have a high female population and get them involved and let them know about the aviation industry.
Great. Let me talk with Letty, who's sitting right there with you. Letty, you have an interesting background, as do your peers there, and you credit a lot of where you are right now to your mom. Your mom has set the bar for you, apparently. How about telling us a little bit about your background as it relates to that and how that transitioned into you becoming a student at PIA?
Yeah, I was raised by a single mother, and she was an immigrant. So she came over here, and it was just a decision she kind of made overnight because some of her friends decided to do it. And she came from Brazil, and she was a little bit older than I am now. And she didn't speak the language. She didn't know what she was going to do. And she just decided that she was going to face that like full force. She was going to take it all in at once. You know, she wasn't scared of it. And she taught herself how to read and write and speak English in a matter of like 2 years. She was pretty fluent. And she's actually a nurse. Well, she's a retired nurse now, but that's what she went into. And she's always been a very hard worker. And seeing that and growing up with her, she's really instilled a lot of that in me. You know, she's don't be afraid to go after something that you want, no matter how hard other people might think it is for you. You know what you're capable of more than they do. So she really pushed me to just do whatever it is that I wanted to do. I actually came to PIA more as it was kind of an opportunity of chance, I guess you could say, because I came here on a tour a few years ago with my older brother because he wanted to come here. And he ended up not wanting to come, but I did. So we kind of just reversed roles.
Isn't that funny? He was supposed to be the one interested, right?
Yeah. But I kind of stole his spotlight there. And I haven't looked back since.
That's kind of awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I interrupted you, but that's what I do.
Oh, you're okay. So I came here and I saw that it was just the opportunities seemed like they were endless. You know, I didn't know where I wanted. I still kind of am like, what am I going to do? Because I feel like I have so many options. But I guess it's a good problem to have. And it's just been something that I'm really proud to do. And I've had a lot of fun doing it. So it's the right choice for me.
You've now been bitten by the aviation bug?
Oh, yes.
That aviation bug, it's lethal, man. Once you're in, you're in. It's taken a lot of people into the industry that even didn't know it before that they were even interested in it. It's just a really neat industry. And I think also we're a community. Even as big as the industry is, there's a camaraderie that kind of takes place. I'm sure Peg and Mindy can attest to that. And probably you students can too, now that you've been in it for a while. Letty, while I have you, let me ask you this. What's it like in terms of your studies and your education in aircraft maintenance? What have you, what's the experience been like for you?
It's been challenging, but all of our instructors here, they tell you it's a fire hose. Like it starts coming and it does not stop, and that's very true. So you have to be very studious and very like focused on everything that you're doing. And it's fun. It is challenging like anything else is going to be, but if you're dedicated to it, it's a good time.
Yeah. Is the challenging part more on the theory side of it? As I heard a student walking through the hall that we ran into, and he was asked how he was doing. He goes, well, the theory's killing me, but I'm hanging in there, and it's like, well, you got to get the theory before you can, start turning the wrenches.
Yeah, the theory is a little bit harder, but once you're actually physically in front of like you trying to apply the theory, that's when it's like it really all hits you. You're like, okay, this makes sense because now I can see it. So.
Yeah. Elizabeth, you come from a more of an aviation background that you had some experiences that kind of inspired you to go this direction. How about you tell us a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah, so I grew up in Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is home to the Willow Run Airport. There's a bunch of history there that is just fantastic. If you haven't visited the Air Museum there, I definitely recommend it. But we manufactured the B-24 Liberators, and it's actually home to Rosie the Riveter.
I know.
So I've just been ensconced in all of this awesome aviation history. And there was heritage festivals every year in Ypsilanti that, my dad brought me to because he actually worked on the P-38 Lightnings, which is one of my favorite aircraft after the war, obviously, because, but yeah, I was drawn to every single airplane that was there, and also the Rosie the Riveters impersonators or reenactors.
What's the attraction to the aircraft, particularly these World War II aircraft?
Honestly, just the fact that we've come so far in the last 100 years. We started with wood and paper basically, and then as soon as we hit World War II, we started getting into more forced induction, as well as at the end of World War II, actual jet engines. It's just the history of aircraft in general just fascinates me. I've been to the Air Force Museum down in Dayton, which is about a 4-hour drive from me, multiple times. And that's actually what got me into thinking like, hey, I actually want to do this as a career. I just saw all of the engines that they have, cut open. It's like really cool to see how they were engineered and everything like that. So, yeah.
Did you have a mechanical background at all before moving in that direction?
Yeah, I am a hobby mechanic. I've been working on cars since I was 16 as kind of like a side gig.
Okay.
So my first car I ever worked on was a 69 Corvette. So can you blame me for falling in love with vehicles at all?
No, not when you talk about a car like that.
No, not at all.
That's really great. So also tell us a little bit about what the experience has been like for you here at PIA in terms of your learning and growing, and I think you're not far from graduation, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I graduate on the 19th of this month.
Oh, so you're really close to graduation.
Yes, very close. I take my orals and practicals on the 10th, and then.
Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm very ready.
That's great. So what has it been like for you in terms of your experience, again, with the school?
So PIA is all about opportunity. They give you the opportunity to like stick your fingers in all these different pies. They give you the opportunity to learn things that you know nothing about. Like for me, it was structures, and I've just fallen in love with it. Like I love riveting. I love paint. I love everything to do with structures. And I thought that I would be a propulsion person, but here we are. They also give us a lot of opportunities after school. We have a competition program here. We participate in a lot of the competitions. Unfortunately, the last 2 years have been canceled, so I wasn't able to participate, but I'm looking forward to seeing PIA participate in those competitions upcoming, as well as we have a bunch of instructors here that are ham radio certified, so they offered a class on that after school, as well as a bunch of other opportunities. Honestly, it's what you put into the school that you're going to get out of it. If you put forth the effort and actually give your passion and your all, you're going to get a lot out of it. It's a fantastic school, and I'm very happy to be here.
So you're going to be the 21st century Lizzie the Riveter, I guess.
Yeah.
Taking over Rosie's position. No, that's really great, and congratulations on that. I really wish you the best. The other question I would ask you is, what position are you hoping to get or move into after you graduate? Have you looked at that yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had multiple job offers. Right now I'm looking at a heavy maintenance facility down in Dayton that I love. I took a vacation down there a couple of days just to go check out their facility, and it's fantastic, and I'm looking really forward to starting with them. I would love to stay with them for a very long time, so hopefully it works out.
That sounds great. Mindy, tell us a little bit about your responsibility as the Associate Director of Career Services. What does that entail, and what are you placing emphasis on right now for PIA?
Yes, relocation, right? In aviation, you have to relocate. We preach that all the time at all 4 campuses, right, ladies? There's not always an aviation job that you want on your top 3 that's in your backyard. And also, I'm glad to hear that, Elizabeth, about the structures. That's fantastic. And I'm sure that you have heard that you will be making lots of money as a structures technician over the years.
It was not on purpose.
Right, and that's what we love. When I used to interview students at PIA, I'd ask them, what was your favorite part about the program? And if they said structures, I hired them. Well, very, very difficult to get structures technicians. So back to you, Vince. Sorry about that. I got off track a little bit.
Oh, no, that's okay. Have at it.
So, yeah, right. So opportunities that are out there to make certain that you look at locations, right? Pick your top 3. Look at 3 states. Look at 4 cities in each one of those states. Look at all the different areas that you can go into. It's not just airlines, right? When we think aviation, what do we think of? United, right? Spirit Air. We think of the mainline carriers. There's so much more out there. There's small mom and pop shops. There's general aviation. There are the heavy maintenance organizations, right? Maintenance, repair, overhaul stations. There's manufacturing. There's the Department of Defense jobs. So that's something that we preach at all 4 campuses. We have a career specialist at each one of our campuses that solely works with the students. I know you got Carrie up there in Youngstown. Elizabeth, she's awesome. She's been with us for 8 years. We have Derek Vrabel in Pittsburgh. He's been with the company first in admissions, now in career services. And we've got Janet at Hagerstown and myself here for 6. So we've got some longevity with our department as a whole. We have also been able to get back on the road since COVID to go out and visit our employers. I went up to Nashville to Embraer, to their maintenance facility up there. We have gone to, Peg and I have gone to Gulfstream in Savannah, Georgia. And so we are making more rounds as career specialists to partner up with these companies and organizations that are coming in and hiring our students. So, but emphasize once again, the relocation, working on that resume, making certain that we put these things on your resume, right? So like Lizzie, you've been working on cars. Same thing with you, Courtney, right? This is what the recruiters want to see, right? You have a passion for drones, whatever that looks like. So these are the things they want to see on that resume. We've had a lot of students over the years that grew up working on a farm, helping their grandfather and their father working on tractors. Students come in and they don't realize that all these things they have in their background need to be shared, right?
Right.
Either through their resume or
and
through their
that
interview
they can
process.
translate very easily to being an aircraft mechanic, et cetera.
Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Lillian, I don't want you to think we forgot about you, but
That's all right. I've been enjoying listening to all these stories.
Yeah, well, we want to hear your story. And actually yours is interesting because you were kind of focused on a career in psychology, and you went from that to this. So can you go back?
Sounds a little weird. So in large part, it's a lot of what we were talking about earlier. Peg, you mentioned that we end up kind of getting into this box, right? Where you're told this conversation is, there's an expectation of going to college. Where are you going to college? What are you interested in? Because let's get you into the right AP classes so that we can get you to the right college. And when everybody in the world is telling you one thing that they think you are, you're like, okay, I guess that's what I am. And I was put into this box of artist, and on the AP track going to college, and people thought I would be a good therapist or a good artist or things like that. So this love that I had of working with my hands was channeled into art, and I loved it. But it never really felt like something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But I just kept on going on that track that I thought I was supposed to go on. It took me until I was in my early 20s. I'm 25 now. It took me until I was like 20, 21 years old, standing at my university, taking my psychology classes, realizing I don't like this. I want to do something more hands-on. And I think that's when I finally broke out of that box. And I really took a close look at what I actually liked doing. And I realized that I thought the brain was so interesting because of all of the moving parts and how they work together. And I realized that I loved sculpture the most because it was working with my hands and creating something, and where things would break, I would fix them. All along that time, my parents work in manufacturing. They own a private manufacturing business up where I'm from in Buffalo, New York. And very familiar, very comfortable in a shop environment. I always asked my dad, hey, can I watch? And he'd be like, sure. So kind of combining those realizations about what I was actually interested in. And something, Courtney, you said too, was that you would always just look up at the sky, and whenever planes passed by, you'd be like, man, those are cool. And just combining all of those things, I realized putting it all together ended me up at aviation maintenance. And now that I'm here, and I've been here for almost 2 years, it's a much better fit. I don't have that moment of looking around and saying, man, I can't stand this. I have that moment of looking around and saying, man, this is cool.
I had a very similar experience walking into the hangar here at Youngstown campus, and I just felt at home. So I know exactly what you feel like.
Yeah, when I came for the tour, I came with my then boyfriend, now husband, and he and I were both just looking at each other just every few minutes. Derek, Mindy, you mentioned Derek. He was doing our tour because he was still in admissions at the time, and he would be leading in front of us, and Logan, my husband, and I would just look at each other and go, "This is so cool," and it just clicked.
And it's interesting that you did a career change, because we have many students that are older, not just out of high school, that they picked the wrong path or are on to their second career, maybe after military or after retiring. I can say at this campus alone, we had a surveyor, a pastor, and a musician who they had the 4-year degree. One of them had a master's and just changed their mind and said, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And then came here and are having wonderful careers now.
Yeah, that is just that's just so great to hear. I don't even know how to express it, but that's really amazing to hear that from. And I keep hearing this story, not only about teasing people about saying, aviation, once you get the bug, you can't let it go. But I've heard so many different stories over the course of a lot of shows of people that had a completely different track. But aviation was one way or another in there, or they discovered it along the lines and they decided to make that move that you guys have done. And you were mentioning Courtney. Courtney, I was going to come back to you because I wanted to ask you a little bit more, talk to you a little bit more about what's it been like with going through this course, this program at PIA, and also raising 2 small kids. That seems like quite a bit of an undertaking.
Yeah, it does have its challenges, but I think it's finding that balance that's very, very important. My kids are, in elementary school, they're constantly learning new things and adventuring out. But the most important thing that I like teaching them is, do what you love to do and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. So they look up to me as I'm a single parent. I do everything I can for my kids, and this being in school, through the day is difficult when I'm away from them. But in the evenings, I have that time that I can go home after school and I can still make dinner. I can still play with them and go outside and have adventures. It's not that I'm just stuck with doing 6 hours of school, going home and doing 5 more hours of homework, and then barely seeing them and then going to bed. It's, when I'm here at school, I'm able to learn everything, accomplish, stay after for a little bit and talk to the teachers if there's something that I'm not understanding, and then be able to kind of shut off school for a little while and enjoy family time. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to come back to Peg and Mindy about something. One of the things that's really great, besides anything that has to do with aviation, is great as far as I'm concerned. But one of the things really seriously that's really great about going to a school like Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics is that it's generally about a 2-year program, and the cost factor as compared to what you usually end up doing if you go to a 4-year, et cetera, is doable. But the other thing is you guys maybe be able to talk about this, and that's talk about the scholarships and the scholarship programs that are applicable and available for something like going to PIA. If either one you could expand on that, it'd be great.
Sure. So the branch campuses are a 16-month program, coming out with a certificate or diploma and testing for the airframe and power plant certificate. The main campus is a 21-month associate degree program offering maintenance and also the aviation electronic path for students. So there are some students that do the 21 months and then do an additional year to get the second program under them. As far as the cost, I think it's one of the selling points for the school that the investment, and forgive me, I can tell you the tuition at our branch campus, I don't have all 4 memorized, but I will say this. It's affordable enough, and typically their first year out of school, they're making more than their total investment in their education. And that's just year 1. So, I challenge people all the time, give me a liberal arts program or a different college path where you can say the same thing. And I truly think our kids come out with a much smaller debt load as well because of the cost. We're not a for-profit school, we're a nonprofit, so we're not charging exorbitant tuition. We have tuition priced as affordable as we can to maintain the operations.
Yeah, I think those are great points to bring out. Mindy, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, actually I do. This can piggyback off of a couple of things that we've been discussing today, scholarships and then putting females in boxes, right? So a great story here with Letty. I have a very close friend who belongs to the local Myrtle Beach Women's Club. And we have been friends for 18 years now. And since I've been in aviation, she has always been very interested in listening to my stories, the day in the life of aviation maintenance. And then, of course, now I'm with the school. And so she has worked so hard the past 3 years to try to get her women in that women's club to do a scholarship, because they do scholarships for females in the local area. They do quite a few scholarships. And they were in that box. Her group of women were in that box. She had a very, like I said, it took her 3 years. They didn't want to hear about it. They didn't understand it. Why are these females in aviation maintenance? What are they doing? They didn't even want to talk about it. I put together all these wonderful packets. I put all this stuff together. I said, I'll come to the club. So like I said, it is a long story. It's a 3-year long story. So finally, she talked one of the club members into coming to see me. And that changed everything. Once I was able to talk to her face to face and explain to her about the industry as a whole, about the female population in aviation maintenance, etc., and the need, for monies. And so Letty was the first recipient of that scholarship. And they were so impressed. They had $1,000 they were giving for the scholarship. And then they had another $1,000 for one of the local schools that nobody would apply for. So they gave Letty that money as well. So Letty got the $2,000. And so we are so excited, and they have indicated that they want to continue this with us for a female aviation maintenance student to give this scholarship money to. So once again, that's to piggyback off what we've been talking about. It really was certainly frustrating for me as well as my friend to say, wow, you know, we're the women's club. Why are these women not wanting, this is what we're about. We're supposed to push women into do whatever that they want to do, and they can do anything that they want to do. But yet, are we that old school? Are we that far back in the dinosaur days as a group that we're not even willing to talk about these female aviation students? So good story.
You bring up a great point. Go ahead. Somebody was.
Yeah, there are other scholarships as well. I mean, PIA has a memorial scholarship fund that we offer scholarships to each campus. We have recent recipients to the Micro Work Scholarship. Many aviation organizations offer scholarship, and PIA has recently reestablished the institutional grant that we will match scholarships up to $1,000 per term for the student. So they can really double their money if they need to.
Yeah. If I might add, so I'm also into aerospace, and if somebody listening to this is interested in going through, you know, aviation maintenance on their way to aerospace, I definitely encourage you to check out the Brooke Owens Fellowship. It's basically a bunch of really awesome women. What's her face? Gwen Shotwell, who is the second in command at SpaceX, is on the board. It's amazing. There's so much support there. All of you should definitely check it out as well.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. And actually, thank you everybody for all your comments about scholarships. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in. One of the things that I actually find frustrating is that there are a lot of scholarships out there that are not taken advantage of. They come from the Women in Aviation Association, Corporate Women in Aviation, as well as the AOPAs, NBAAs, and all the other alphabets. They have scholarships. Some of them are small, some of them are bigger, some of them are specific, but they have them there. And interestingly enough, I actually get calls and emails from people saying, hey, can you say something about our scholarship? Because we haven't gotten anybody to apply or to follow through with it, which is really hard to believe. If somebody's offering you money to help you finish through school, and I'm not throwing this at anybody here at PIA, I'm just saying in general, while I have the ear of the audience, if you're interested in something or doing something, or you're currently in school and you want to get some help with it, there's a scholarship out there for you somewhere. Partial scholarship, full scholarship, specific scholarship to what you're doing. And I know that also applies to the aircraft maintenance, not only in terms of what you can get at PIA or through PIA specifically, but you know, some of the MROs have scholarship programs, et cetera, and so forth. So I had to throw that 2 cents in because
I agree with you.
It comes up not enough, I guess, or something.
Yeah, that's one of the things we offer to do too. And I when Letty went for this one, I tell the students all the time, if you want me to read your essay, just bring it up front. We're more than willing to help you with the process. And I advise all new students, write your story, start that essay just out of the blue, because then all you have to do is adjust it depending on the scholarship. But take the time to do those 2 hours and write your story. And then it's very easy from that point on.
And you guys have great stories. In fact, Letty's story is what I read as part of her bio information. And I was captivated in the first couple of paragraphs. I was like, wow. You know, when you read bios and everything, you expect to hear, I did this, I'm interested in that, blah, 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 blah. But her story, your story, Letty, about your mom and her struggles and her challenges and how she overcame those and how she set an example for you and your siblings was just a really impressive thing. And that's something that will impress others in terms of whether it's a scholarship opportunity or future job prospects and things like that. That's really great. I think it was Lillian that brought up something earlier about the maintenance contest, aircraft maintenance contest. If it wasn't you, Lillian, I know somebody else talked about it. I was wondering if you, Mindy, or Peg could talk about that a little bit, because I think that's a kind of an exciting aspect of what you guys do and deal with in school or in this program. And I've seen that I think it's you guys that have fared pretty well in the past before they shut it down last year for COVID.
Yeah. So I feel bad because I don't believe any of these students, I mean, they know of it, but they most certainly didn't get to see a team go because of COVID and shutting down. So it was probably 5 years ago that we got interested, and it was proposed to the Myrtle Beach campus, hey, do you guys want to give this a try? So we went first year. The second year, I believe Hagerstown joined in, and the third year we went, all 4 campuses went. And it's held in a different city, the aerospace maintenance competition each year. It's in Dallas this coming year in April. It's a team of 5 students. There are students, professionals, and military teams. Students compete against students. Everybody competes in the respective categories, but the students get the opportunity to work right next to the professionals and the military. And it's held at the MRO conference, which has 5,000-ish aviation companies there. It's a great networking opportunity. And yes, you're correct. We've won 2. We haven't won the competition, but we have won 2 events 2 years in a row. And that's a great opportunity for the school because both resulted in very expensive brand new equipment as the prize being given to the school. So, and it's good for the 4 campuses because they get to interact with each other for really the first time and the only time the campuses really, the students get together. So they get some camaraderie, see the similarities between the 4, and make lifelong friends out of it. So we're looking forward to going back at it this year, hoping everything stays on track and joining up with the other campuses.
Well, and I think you bring up a great point about camaraderie and pulling everybody together. Not only do you do that at each campus within the campus, but when you do it with all of the campuses pulling together for one cause, if you will, and that's to win a contest and to make the school look good overall. I think that also translates to the industry, and maintenance teams work together on aircraft. So it's not just one individual, but it's a team of people with different responsibilities that have to pull together and kind of complement each other to get that aircraft up and running or troubleshoot a problem and things like that. So I'm glad you brought up the term camaraderie and pulling together. Letty, I have to come back to you for something. We've got, a few minutes before we wrap up, and I'm going to go through a couple of other things before we do. But I wanted to come back to Letty because, Letty, you could probably be friends with my oldest daughter because when I see things like skateboard, surfing, playing a guitar, knowing how to start a campfire, you guys would get along really good because she does all of the above. Hers is a ukulele that she likes to mess around with. But I was curious about something. You seem to have kind of figured out what you want to do after you graduate from PIA, and you mentioned either working for UPS or FedEx, fixing their aircraft. Any particular reason you picked those 2 big cargo carriers?
I don't know. I think it's just the cargo planes just interest me. I just like giant planes. So what's not cool about that, the giant moving parts. And I just think the experience that would obviously that entails is, that's like invaluable to me,
Well, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot because I actually think it's great. A lot of people kind of miss out on how significant our cargo industry is and the opportunities there. And I think you going into that aspect of aircraft maintenance, working for one of the big carriers, cargo carriers, is great. So I'm actually applauding you for it. I just was curious as to how you came about that decision.
I just know they always need work, and I'm going for that. I'm not afraid of the hard work.
So with the few minutes we have left, let me make the rounds, and I'll start with you, Letty, since I'm with you at this point. Just what kind of, for those watching and listening, what kind of advice do you have based on your experience at PAI and what you're learning in aircraft maintenance and what you're hoping to achieve? What would you pass along to your peers and others that are possibly considering this or really never gave it much thought, but now maybe it's on their radar?
Well, in my experience here, I really get to know your instructors. They are a fountain of information. Every single one of them has their own area of like expertise, and there has not been a time when I have been able to turn to one of them and ask, like, hey, I don't understand this. And they will sit down with me and they really take their time out to make sure that you do understand, and they do everything they can to help you out.
Yeah, I'll attest to that because I got a tour from Roxanne Ober of the facility before prepping for this show, or while prepping for the show. And I saw a class going on with 3 instructors actually all over it with a group of students. And then there was a break that came, the 10-minute break that you guys have. And I said, well, we walked somewhere and we came back and the students were still there. I said, I thought you said they were on break. She said, oh yeah, they get so much into it. Sometimes they don't take much of a break and they just continue on. So they were working on stuff and asking questions during their break. I think that speaks highly of the program, of the atmosphere of the school, and of the instructors, that they're teaching something that's so interesting that, you know, because usually your generation wants to take the break. so that was pretty impressive. Same question to you, Courtney. What's your advice to those who might be interested in this kind of a program and looking at this type of career?
I think I want to go a little bit off of what Lillian said earlier. Don't let anybody put you in that box, because when you get put in that box, people expect you to do one thing with your life, and it's not what's going to make you happy. It's not what you're passionate about, and you have to find that spark, and don't let anyone tell you what your spark is. It takes time. I mean, I'm in my late 20s, and it took me going through so many different career shifts to actually find what I wanted to do. So I think it's important for even any age group of anyone, whether they're in high school, just started college, or they're already retired and want to do something new. It's being able to have an open mind about what opportunities are out there and to take the time to explore everything, not just be on one direct path. So if you have an open mind with being able to, I mean, you're learning skills that you're constantly learning. It's not like you learn and then you're done. It's you learn and then you learn and learn and learn, and you continue to grow. You don't just stand still.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a great point that you guys have been bringing up. Let me go, speaking of spark, Elizabeth, or as I call you now, Lizzie the Riveter. How about you? What are your thoughts to share?
My advice would to be start networking now. I definitely have benefited greatly from networking with people through LinkedIn, or even talking to people. I work at Harbor Freight, so I see a lot of tradesmen come in for tools and stuff like that. So if I see a t-shirt for, a regional airline or something, I'm like, oh, hey, do you like working there? What is it like to, work on those kind of planes? Is it difficult? Like, don't be afraid to approach people and ask questions. I have been pretty fortunate to be able to go down to Kennedy Space Center and celebrate Yuri's Night there about twice now. And I have met so many amazing people, including the director of NASA. Just talk to everybody you absolutely can. Take advantage of platforms like LinkedIn, like I said. I have gotten job offers over LinkedIn just from them viewing my feed of what I'm working on in school that day. So honestly, yeah, that's my one piece of advice for people going through this program or any other program.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. I was actually, that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure we talked about at some point during this program, the importance of networking and how valuable it is and how much it can do. But the way you just put it, which is don't be afraid to walk up and start talking to somebody. And the other piece that I'll add to it is if you meet somebody and they say, hey, feel free to stay in touch. Let me know if I can ever answer any questions. Take them up on it. Don't just go, and walk away. Actually get their contact information and, drop them a note once in a while. They are human just like the rest of us. So there's nothing that they really can't do to you. But the important part is that if you stay on their radar, as we like to say in the industry, if they remember who you are, something may come up one day, whether it's a month, a year, or 2 years later, that they say, oh, I wonder if Elizabeth, what she's doing right now, because I was thinking about blah, 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 and there's this position open, and the next thing you know, it could lead to something. So the networking is a very important aspect of it. I'm sure Mindy and Peg would agree wholeheartedly about that.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. And then let me close it out with the students and go to the other spark plug, Lillian. And Lillian, what are your thoughts and advice to those who might be interested in this industry?
I think I would say the biggest thing, similar to what Elizabeth said, is don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to talk to people. More so, I'll focus on the instructors. A big part of PIA that I've found so far is that, especially with a larger class size, you're going to be thrown into the work. And if you are okay with teaching yourself a lot of stuff and going to the teachers when you need help, but really just looking for information and working with your peers and asking questions when you need to, this is a perfect environment for you. If you need someone to show you every single step of the way, you might not get that. And I say that in the best way, because I have learned the best when I teach myself and when my peers teach me too. Before I came here, I had never really touched a wrench. And now I can overhaul a reciprocating engine and things like that. And it's incredible how much I've learned.
I'm scared of you.
The learning curve is a straight line up.
Yeah.
You come in here and you're thrown into it, and you're going to learn a lot. But don't be afraid to ask questions, because these teachers, like we've touched on a lot, I mean, they come here after long careers doing exactly what they're teaching us. And they're more than willing to help and explain things to you. They just have a lot of students to deal with.
Mindy, closing thoughts?
Yeah, the whole networking, I'll have to just piggyback off Elizabeth, Lizzie the Riveter, that I found the past year or two that I keep reminding students and others that, even including myself, something that I learned about myself is to not to be scared to ask questions. And it's certainly in aviation, folks love to talk aviation stories, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so don't be scared to ask for help. And that's something that I started doing myself at the ripe old age of 50. So that was something that I started learning about myself, that I can ask for help. And I have to say, Peg's been very good helping me ask for help. We have a great staff here at PIA, and I've been able to go to any campus that I need to ask questions and ask for that help. So that's my advice.
And Peg, and you were going to say something too, Peg.
I was just going to say, I don't want to forget one of the most important parts. We've provided all this information on PIA. Well, this weekend on Saturday, we are having an open house at all 4 campuses at 11 a.m. So please go to the website, check it out. Feel free to sign up to come and stop by. Instructors will be there to talk to, staff, employers to talk to at each site. So it's a great way to come and see all the things we've been talking about.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Actually, Roxanne gave me
I'm sure she did.
Brochure about it, and it's sitting right here in front of me, and I probably would have forgotten. So
I think that's one of my classmates on the cover there.
Okay, there you go. Any closing thoughts, Peg, while I have you?
No, I just, anybody that's not sure what they want to do or what path they want to take, at least give it an opportunity and check it out. Aviation is a wonderful industry. We obviously are partial to aviation maintenance, but there are plenty of careers in aviation, and there is definitely a demand for the workforce. So please come check it out. Reach out to these ladies, reach out to us. We'd love to introduce you to our aviation bug, as we've been calling it.
Well, this has been a really exciting experience for me, being here, not only being here live on the location of the main campus and everything, but just the opportunity to have toured the facilities, which are very impressive in terms of very comprehensive, in that you guys cover all aspects of aircraft maintenance. And I think it's great. But you students, my gosh, you guys are at a whole nother level. And I could see why, all of you are representing PIA very well, because you're all, I wish you all absolutely the very best. I think you're all going to do extremely well in your careers, and you're going to set a new bar of opportunity for those that are with you and that are coming behind you in this industry. So thank you very much for taking the time and being candid on the show, and not letting my questions throw you too much for a loop. But it's been a pleasure having you all on. Peg and Mindy, you guys are wonderful in terms of giving some insight of what the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics is all about, and why it's been around for a very long time, and will probably continue to be along for a long time. As we said at the beginning of the show, the industry is wide open. The floodgates are actually open, and really looking for everybody, maintenance, pilots, the whole gambit. So this is great to be able to let people get a little bit of an inside perspective about aircraft maintenance in particular, and what it entails. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. Well, that does it for All Things Aviation and Aerospace this week. I'll actually be back in my studio next week. I think I get off the road for a hot minute. But it's been a pleasure, as always. My name is Vince Mickens, and always feel free to touch base with me if you have any questions or you want to reach anybody that you've seen on the program. Thanks for everybody. Thank you to everybody.